Dawn of War 3. The Orks are a chaotic and aggressive horde force. They rely on overwhelming numbers and raw momentum to crush opponents. Instead of deploying a small team of elite specialists, this faction floods the battlefield with cheap, aggressive infantry. These troops use crude scrap armor and ramshackle vehicles to overwhelm enemy positions. Scrap gathering and battlefield salvage are the core of their strategy. This unique mechanic allows the faction to scavenge wrecks from destroyed units and structures. This resource gives them the ability to upgrade existing units or build entirely new vehicles directly on the front line. It creates an army that naturally grows stronger as the fighting becomes more intense. The faction does not engage in careful, defensive playstyles. They favor constant forward movement, high aggression, and swarm tactics to suffocate the enemy before a proper defense can be built. This reckless style forces opponents to constantly react to threats. It disrupts enemy base management and forces immediate combat. Traditional technological progression takes a backseat to a unique population mechanic based on building specific structures. Building large towers increases the collective confidence of the Horde, which unlocks higher tier units and passive combat buffs. This makes them a highly dynamic force that expands across the map rapidly. The Orks have several major operational advantages. Numerical superiority is their biggest strength. Cheap production costs allow commanders to quickly field massive waves of infantry. They can easily overwhelm contested resource points and surround smaller enemy formations. The sheer weight of an Ork charge can easily panic opponents. Their economy is also incredibly resilient due to the scrap system. While other factions must spend massive resources to rebuild lost units, this faction can construct heavy vehicles out of battlefield debris. This makes their army highly efficient in wars of attrition. It gives them the staying power to maintain constant pressure. The War Tower mechanic is another key asset. Building these structures allows commanders to trigger a global war cry. This ability grants massive attack speed and damage buffs to all nearby friendly units. It provides the sudden burst of power needed to break through heavily fortified enemy positions. Furthermore, their infantry is highly aggressive in close combat. Standard squads can charge forward to tie up enemy ranged units. This prevents opponents from using heavy firepower effectively and forces them into unfavorable melee brawls. Finally, durable heroes act as frontline anchors. These leaders feature massive health pools and excellent crowd control abilities. They excel at absorbing heavy enemy fire while leading the main horde directly into the heart of battle. Despite their strength, this faction has clear weaknesses that enemies can exploit. Low individual unit durability is their primary vulnerability. Basic infantry units have low health pools and very weak armor shields. They die quickly when exposed to sustained long-range fire or concentrated area of effect weapons. A commander must expect high casualties in every engagement. Because their strategy relies so heavily on momentum, losing a major battle hurts them severely. If an entire horde is wiped out before generating enough scrap, the army struggles to recover. They can easily get locked inside their own base without map control. Success also demands heavy micromanagement of the scrap economy. Commanders must constantly guide support units to collect debris during chaotic battles. Failing to collect scrap prevents the army from unlocking vital weapon upgrades and heavy vehicles. Their infrastructure is highly vulnerable to targeted raids. The entire faction depends on towers to maintain its technology level. If an opponent systematically targets and destroys these towers, the Ork faction loses its high-tier upgrades and combat buffs. Lastly, their basic units have very poor accuracy at long range. Most infantry weapons are designed for short-range firefights or melee combat. This makes them highly vulnerable to fast long-range skirmishes that can kite the slow horde across open ground. In conclusion, the Orks function as a high-momentum force that relies on constant aggression and battlefield salvage to win. Success depends entirely on maximizing the numerical advantage and using scrap effectively to upgrade units during active combat. If the early pressure fails or towers are destroyed by precise enemy strikes, the faction can be starved of momentum and easily picked apart. The lack of heavy armor leaves no room for passive playstyles. However, when managed with constant forward pressure and proper scrap collection, their destructive potential is virtually unmatched. They remain a dominant horde force capable of breaking any defensive line through sheer numbers.